we talk about the management of the Oklahoma City Thunder? They have
Oh,
34 draft picks over the next 7 seasons, and they're split down the middle at 17 first rounders and 17 second rounders.
Yeah,
That's
man. It's
insane.
insane, dude.
Sam Presti's a genius, boy.
Bro,
Genius.
now, I was saying this earlier to my buddy when we were talking about it. I was like, they can get all these draft picks, and that's great. But if they can't draft good players and put those players on the floor, those players are gonna. Or I saw a thing. It was saying that these players are gonna win so many championships, or these picks will win so many championships with other teams later in their career because they'll screw it up when they get them on the floor or something like that. It was kind of funny, but it's cool to see that for that organization to see what kind of potential that could bring. But it's all going to come down to obviously picking the right guys that they at the time that they need and putting them in their system to succeed and getting them ready to succeed. So I mean, we'll see. But I mean, that's just those numbers are wild. 7 years.
It's crazy. And Kev, like you and I've kind of talked about Sam Presti just kind of like in our private conversations about just how many draft picks they're just stockpiling. At what point do you think that Sam Presti is going to just unload all of these draft picks and really start trying to form somewhat of a viable team in the Western Conference? Because you can't just hold on all of these draft picks forever.
I mean, you really got to look down the line and like I guess like the NCAA pipeline, because at the end of the day, players are going to come out of high school. They're going to show out in college. We all know that doesn't always transition. Tyler Hansbrough is one of the greatest college basketball players of all time. He flopped in the league. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these one and dones that come out don't end up panning out either. You know what I'm saying? Like it really depends on the front office, their scouting, their college aspects, the business of it, all of it. They got to make sure they got cap. They did the whole Chris Paul, Melo, Paul George aspect of it, and it flaked. They had the James Harden, Russell Westbrook, and KD, and that didn't work out either, even though they got all the way to the finals. So Sam Presti's really got to figure out what it is that he wants to do. Are you going to package some of those picks into getting some bigger assets? Because we all know Shai Alexander is probably one of the better up-and-coming young players in the league. They do have a lot of expiring contracts over there, like they have Al Horford and a number of other players in the latter of their careers. So they're poised to be drafting relatively early in the next couple of years, unless Sam kind of pulls the trigger and says, you know what, I'm going to package some of these up and I'm going to go trade for a stud next season.
Yeah.
Or, like I'm going to package some of these up and I'm going to just trade up to the next draft spot. You know what I'm saying? If OKC has the 7th pick, who's to say if they don't package up 3 first-round picks, it's not like they're not going to have 14 more if they want to go and get the number 1 overall pick. So they're poised to draft high, draft quick, and they're also poised to go and make free agency acquisitions because they're going to have available cap space and they're going to be able to attract some free agent destinies, like, free agent players like, hey, like we're young, we got cap, we got capital, we have everything that you need. Just, come out here and let us show you what we can do. So it's all about how Presti's going to manage it. He's a genius for getting them. It's about what you do and executing now as a GM, because if you do nothing with these picks, like Dawson said, or you draft these players and they don't hit the floor or you don't utilize them correctly, they're not going to stay past their rookie contracts, and they might not even make it their full contracts.
I think what you're probably going to see with OKC over the next couple of years is, I'm going to totally agree with you with the whole use those draft picks to either move up in the draft to pick, possibly a potential top 5 pick in the draft. But don't be surprised if they package some of those first rounders and maybe a couple of the second rounders to bring in some veteran leadership too. With the amount of draft picks that they have, they could definitely acquire. I don't know if they would necessarily get a superstar just off of draft picks, but they could probably get at least like a good kind of like second tier player to at least to go around the younger players that they draft in the future years down the road. I think I'm just trying to think of like somebody that they could really pull off in a trade.
Go after Bradley, get him out of there.
Yeah, maybe. But I mean, you and I have talked about Bradley Beal and the contract situation that he has there. So I don't know if the Wizards would pull a trade on Bradley Beal with just 3 or 4 first round picks that OKC would send to them. But I mean, if you're in Washington's position, do you think about it? Because I mean, OKC is not really going anywhere anytime soon. they're not going to be a competitor in the Western Conference until they make some sort of move to at least be a viable team to even crack the top 8 seed.
Hey, like I said, it all depends. Like, check this out, though. So Washington has Russell, and they still bottom tier the Eastern Conference. You know what I'm saying? Bradley was doing everything he could by himself without John Wall for the last 2-3 years. No disrespect unless your favorite player, but he just was out of commission for a while. So Bradley shouldered the brunt of the load. And if Bradley goes to OKC, OKC has capital, OKC has cap. He's the focal point. They can build around him. Washington is stuck with Russell's contract, his contract. They gave who's that shooter? He just signed like a $75 million extension. The white boy. He's like, he starts with a B. Oh my God, Bertos or something like that. He just signed over there. Yeah,
Bertans, I think is his name.
Yeah, so
Bertans.
So at the end of the day, I feel like I was thinking while you were talking of some superstars that are in a situation in which you're like free so-and-so. And I think Bradley Beal is probably one of the only players that I could see being like, get me out of this terrible organization. You have enough money to pay me and you're trending in the right direction. You go and pull a Bradley Beal, that immediately puts you in a position of, yo, now we got to go get some other players. Now we got to get some other pieces. The cap books are free of Chris Paul's contract. Let's go acquire a team. Let's go assemble something around Bradley Beal. And who knows, maybe they compete again in the Western Conference. Bradley, we know, is a player that can average 25 by himself with no help. If you get him some kind of a rookie that can do something, maybe, who knows? I don't know. I just felt that made the most sense, you know? I'm just talking out my ass here. It just usually happens like that.